Good morning, everyone. Welcome to All Levels Yoga. Make sure you have a couple of blocks and a strap or something like a strap. And let's begin sitting down. A little more from Meditations from the Mat. This is a quote by Ram Dass. Compassion refers to the arising in the heart of the desire to relieve the suffering of all beings. At its most evolved form, compassionate action does not arise solely out of personal desire. Rather, it arises from a desire created by the collective suffering of all beings. A number of my students at my studio come to yoga as adolescents in adult bodies. They have been winners in the game of life, often having been blessed with the looks, opportunities, and talents associated with success in our society. The only suffering they are aware of is the bad back or bum knee they hope to straighten out with a few yoga classes. As the months turn into years, though, something changes in their faces. They begin to look me in the eye. They are in less of a hurry. As their bodies seem to grow younger, their spirits mature. I discover that the student is in the habit of giving rides to strangers from the studio. That one is providing much needed job advice to unemployed fellow yogis. This one is volunteering. Students tell me about books they are reading that are changing their lives. They talk about their desires for their careers to be more meaningful. Eventually, these yearnings are realized. Their hopes come to pass. They either leave their jobs or change within them. Some leave stuck relationships. Others finally commit and get married. Before long, I am honored to know these individuals. They model virtues that I would like to embody in my own life. The externals differ, but the internal shift is the same. These men and women are surrendering to their humanity. And in so doing, they are lessening the collective suffering of all beings. I repeat this quote by the Dalai Lama a lot, but it's one of my favorites. And he said, if you want to be happy, practice compassion for others. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion for yourself. Something like that. But basically the key was compassion for yourself and for others breeds happiness from within you and around you. So let's begin lying down. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, and please have a block and a strap near you as you lie down onto your back. Take a moment to drop the knees apart so that you can bring the soles of your feet together. And if you find that this feels uncomfortable on your hips and they're not ready to go that far, you could elevate your outer thighs on top of a block on each, just like this. Or whatever folded blanket or towel or pillow you might have nearby. Just try to make them even height. And then let's set the left hand on the center of your chest. Set your right hand just below your belly button, releasing your shoulder blades down your back. Take a moment to just feel your neck, maybe softly turning your head in different directions. Then align your chin with your sternum at the middle of your chest. And feel the openness at your throat as you lengthen through the back of your neck. And perhaps even close your eyes as you take a moment to drop into stillness with an open-hearted, open-minded curiosity of what's here within your body, heart, and mind. As you feel into the fluctuations of your breathing and even your thoughts, what is your inner being asking of you to nourish yourself with in this practice today? Invite a deeper inhalation, feeling your belly and chest gently rise. And then make any releasing sound as you open your mouth to slowly empty your breath, feeling your belly and chest softly descend. And then slow the breath down just like that. A few more cycles, breathing in, maybe even pausing at the top of your breath. And through your mouth, breathing out any sound that might want to come out. And maybe pausing at the bottom of your breath. Using the pauses just as a means to fine-tune your inner listening. This time, empty this breath and hold it out. Close your lips and try to just breathe through your nose now. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue to balance your breath just like that. As you gently constrict the back of your throat or narrow it so that you create a soft, audible, whispering sound, tracking the quality of your breath. The style of breathing called Ujjayi Pranayama helps to calm your nervous system and just help focus your mind on what's present here and now. So as you continue to listen to your breath, if you have props under your outer thighs, go ahead and slide them away so that you can lift your outer thighs with your hands and step your 2 feet onto the ground. Separate your feet wider than your hips distance. Separate your knees just as wide apart as your feet. And then open your arms so they're out of the way as you inhale here. Then exhale, slowly drop your knees over to your right side. Keep your 2 shoulders on the ground. And we're going to move to the breath. So inhale, lift your knees, step your feet on the mat. Exhale, drop your knees to the left. And try that a few more times at your own pace. Breathing in to lift, breathing out to lower. Just gently helping to loosen the femurs at your hip sockets, softly stretching your inner and outer thighs, and even giving your lower back and glutes a massage against the ground. So finish the cycle that you're on, and then bend your right knee into your chest. Take your strap here and step the ball of your right foot into the strap. Whether it's the loop or just the middle of the strap, hold the strap just in your right hand, bend your right knee, so your right arm is inside of your right thigh, and then step your open your right knee out to your right side as if just your right leg was in happy baby pose. So the strap acts as an extension of your arm so that you can completely relax your 2 shoulders down. Now, to whatever degree it feels comfortable, begin to straighten your left leg onto the floor and flex your left foot. With the help of your left hand resting on top of your left thigh, keep the back of your left hip on the ground just as much as your right hip. Now let's breathe. As you lift the sole of your right foot to face the sky, draw your right knee down towards the earth, just outside of your right shoulder, and feel the broadening across your lower back. You might even visualize breathing into that area, or your breath softens into your outer hips and thighs as well. And then from here, bend your right knee back towards your chest, removing the strap. Step your right foot on the ground and bend your left knee into your chest. Step the ball of your left foot into the loop or center of the strap. And with your left arm inside of your left thigh, catch hold of the strap. Oh no, it's that rainstorm. And then open your left knee out to the left towards your outer shoulder so that you're lifting the sole of your left foot towards the sky. Stay here, I'm just going to change the song for a second. And to whatever degree you can, Begin to straighten your right leg onto the floor, flexing your right foot. As you rest your right hand on the top of your right thigh, press down so that the back of your right hip is as grounded as your left hip. Two shoulders grounded as well. Listening to your breath here. And then bend your left knee back into your chest. Put the strap aside. Hug your left thigh in. And then hug your right thigh in. Drawing both knees. Maybe even rock side to side, forward and back. Or circle your thighs together and apart. Take a few breaths here. So easing into opening space and warming up our hips, our lower back. Before we get into some heart-opening postures today. Building the strength of the heart energy center, giving and receiving love. So begin to rock yourself forward. Let's come on down to all fours. Have your blocks on either side of the top of your mat. I know we didn't use it back there. I'm trying to be economical with our time. This is set your wrists on the ground. Maybe even spin out your hands if you want to stretch your outer wrists, preparing for cat-cow. With an inhale, glide your spine forward, then roll your shoulders back to lift and broaden your chest. As you exhale, contract your belly, dropping your head as you round your back. And take cat-cow a few more cycles of breath, really slowly, as you pay attention to the experience as it may shift throughout each movement. Finishing another round or three. Let's meet in downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. Making sure that when you're there, you're spreading your fingers wide and flat. Your wrists are shoulders distance apart. And the creases of your wrists parallel the front edge of your mat. You might take a moment in downward dog to pet your feet slowly in place to help warm up your hamstrings and calves. And maybe with that, add your hips left and right, helping to further loosen back and lengthen the sides of your torso. Feel ease in your neck, letting your head hang freely, perhaps with some gentle movements. And broaden across your shoulders by rotating the outer sides of your upper arms, your triceps towards the floor, while sealing down through your thumbs and index fingers. Now bend your knees and lift your sitting bones as high as you can while shifting your weight towards your rear wall. Feel the length of your back as you firm your belly into it, while pressing your chest slightly towards your shins and completely dropping your skull as your shoulders rise away from it. Triceps rolling down. And then press the front, very tops of your thighs further back as though I'm standing behind you on your mat. And I'm pulling your hip bones up towards the sky and back towards the wall behind you. Letting your heels become heavier and heavier, even if they don't meet the ground. And now let's hold still here, continuing to lengthen your spine. Breathe in. Breathe out. On your next inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale and bend your right knee. Rotate your right thigh open at your hip. As you inhale, draw your left hip further back. Then exhale, softly step your right foot forward outside of your right hand, entering lizard lunge. Set your back knee on the ground and make sure that your front knee is directly on top of your right heel. Then flex your right foot to help stabilize your right knee as you slowly splay open your right thigh, leaning just the outer edge of your foot onto the ground. Now, as you extend your chest forward, you might opt to lower your forearms onto blocks or the floor, feeling a little more opening into the top of your left thigh and hip. If it's reaching, you might have to come up onto your hands or even prop your hands onto blocks. You could bend your left knee, backstroke your right arm, and catch hold of the top of your left foot, maybe even lassoing it with a strap to make it easier to reach. And then slowly bring your left heel closer to your glute as you slide your two shoulders down your back, scissoring your right outer hip slightly back as you lengthen your torso forward. Let's take a few more deep breaths here in lizard lunge. And then setting your left foot onto the ground. If it's lifted, come back to a kneeling lunge, stepping your right foot on the inside of your right hand so that your legs are hips width apart. Front knee again, just over the heel. Press the four corners of your right foot into the ground and then press your hands on the very top of your right thigh, close to your hip crease. Sink your pelvis down. But as you press into your right thigh, lift your frontal hip bones and allow your left hip bone to slightly come forward, aligning your two hips to face the front of your room. As you broaden your chest, lift your sternum, lift the back of your skull, and soften your shoulder heads down. Sinking your hips, but pressing the top of your right thigh down so that you can lift the front of your pelvis while anchoring your tailbone down. 3 more breaths. Then set your 2 hands on blocks or the floor on both sides of your right ankle. Coming into half split, flex your right toes off the ground and then plug your right thigh bone back deeper into your hip socket while lengthening your chest forward. Feel the equal length from armpits to hips on both sides. Bowing in, breath by breath. Firm your belly up towards your back body. And as you're flexing your right foot, see that you're pressing the big toe mound forward, flaring the pinky toe back towards your outer knee. As you firm the front muscle of your right thigh, your quadricep, you're offering your hamstring, the back muscle of your right thigh, support to lengthen, as well as opening space behind the knee. Let's take last 2 breaths here in Ardha Hanumanasana. Slide your right heel back, re-entering downward facing dog. And there, take a few breaths, perhaps even some gentle movement. DJ, our songs are a little sleepy today. Let's wake us up. From downward facing dog, inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhaling, bend your left knee and turn open at your hip. As you inhale, tack your right outer hip further back. Then slowly exhale, step your left foot softly outside of your left hand. Remember that you can grab your ankle and set the foot forward if it hasn't come forward enough to stack your left knee directly above your left heel. Lower your right knee and tuck the toes. And now entering lizard lunge, flex your left foot. Splay open your left thigh so you're just leaning the outer edge of your foot onto the ground. And then feel into what the side of your hips needs. Perhaps you feel plenty of sensation and you stay right here. Maybe even elevate your hands on blocks. Maybe you come down onto your forearms, getting a little deeper into the sensation in your outer hip. Or you offer your right quadricep some lengthening by bending your right knee, and you might have to prop here so that it's reachable for you to backstroke your left arm and catch hold of the top of your right foot, slowly bringing it closer to your glutes. Let your shoulder blades continue to relax down your back. As you soften your left outer hip back, let your torso lengthen forward, tracing the midline of your mat. Feel the power of your conscious breathing to cultivate calm, trust, surrender. On your next exhalation, release your back foot if you have it. And step your left foot inside of your left hand so that your legs are now your hips distance apart. See that your left knee is still directly above the heel. Firm down through the four corners of your left foot. And then press your hands on top of the very top of your left thigh, close to your hip crease. And as you press your hands down firmly, you're accentuating the stability and rooting down feeling. While lifting your frontal hip bones, let your right hip bone roll slightly more forward, aligning your pelvis to balance. Lift your sternum at the middle of your chest, and then roll the front of your shoulders slightly behind your ears and down as you lift through the back of your skull. A few breaths here in Anjaneyasana. Feel the activity of your abdomen while you're lifting your frontal hip bones and helping your tailbone to anchor down, less tilting back. And softening your face, let's take 2 more breaths. And then step into plank pose from here, whether you land with knees on the floor or legs straight. Let's take a few breaths in plank, stacking your shoulders directly above your wrists, gazing on the ground ahead of your hands, lengthening your neck, and lengthening your sternum forward as you press your shoulder blades down your back and wide apart. Lift your navel towards your spine, and if your legs are straight, firm your heels back, activate your quadriceps. Keeping this long line in your spine as you exhale, glide forward as far as you can before bending your elbows to graze your side ribs. Keep your neck long as you slowly lower into Sphinx Pose. Pointing your toes actively back, press your toenails on the floor and slide your forearms forward until your elbows land just slightly in front of your shoulders, palms face down. But imagine that you're dragging your palms towards your hips, though they remain visibly still, so that you broaden your collarbones, lift your sternum again, while looking down ahead for a couple breaths. Now feel your inner thighs. Let them spiral slightly towards the sky. This creates a broadening in your sacrum. And at the same time, reach your tailbone back towards your inner heels. This creates a lengthening in your lower back. Keep those 2 actions as your feet and pelvis stay heavy on the ground. Then slide your hands back until your wrists align with your floating ribs, hugging your elbows close to your sides. Draw your shoulder blades down and breathe into coil your chest up and open, Bhujangasana Cobra Pose. Tuck your toes, maybe press your knees on the floor. Engage your belly as you exhale to push up through plank and lift your pelvis high and back to downward facing dog. Taking just a few breaths as you let your body be still. Now bending your knees, lift your heels and hips high. Look beyond your hands and empty your breath. As you hold your breath out, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat, entering a forward fold. Feet hips width apart, parallel, put a slight bend in your knees and shift a little more weight towards the balls of your feet. Press onto your blocks ahead of you, the ground or your shins, and inhale, lengthen your spine forward as if pressing your heart through the gates of your arms. Exhale, hinge from your hips, from down through your feet, perhaps a little bend in the knees. Inhale, rise up, sweeping your arms overhead, gaze at your palms touching. Exhale, trace your thumbs down the center line of your body, landing arms by your sides, palms facing forward. We're going to enter a vinyasa flow. Inhale, circle your arms overhead. Draw your tailbone down as you coil your chest slightly up, a standing back bend. Bend your knees and exhale, bow from your hips. Press the ground, your blocks or legs, and inhale, lengthen your spine forward halfway up. Step back into plank and lower slowly forward, hugging your elbows close to your sides, into Cobra or upward facing dog. Breathing in, ground the tops of your feet and coil your chest up. Tuck your toes from your belly, press through plank, arriving in downward facing dog. As you inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhaling, bend your knee towards. Set the foot inside of your right hand, entering Crescent Lunge. So feet are parallel, hips width apart as you inhale to rise. Let's pause here just to feel our body in alignment. You might bend your left knee to help draw your tailbone downward, less tilting back, and lift your frontal hip bones. Let your left outer hip come forward enough to meet the right hip, both facing forward. Bend your front knee right on top of the heel, firming the front muscle of your right thigh. Feel from your pelvic floor, lengthening up your spine to your crown as you raise your arms, relaxing your shoulders down. Take another deep breath in. Then join your hands in prayer at your chest and spin your left heel flat onto the mat. Slide your right foot a few inches to the left and align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. Wrapping your left outer hip underneath your body to point the middle of your right knee and middle toe straight down the center of your mat forward. From the top of your left thigh bone back towards the right edge of your mat and open your arms wide, entering Warrior Two. Relaxing your shoulders down, lift from your pelvic floor to your crown, and perhaps even bend your right knee towards a right angle as you gaze past your right fingertips. Let's take a couple of breaths. Turning out your left leg from the hip, enter a wide-legged squat, making sure that your middle of your knees are in line with your middle toes. Bring your hands to your hips or join your hands in prayer at your chest. Bend your left knee to turn out just as much as your left middle toe and curl your right toes up. Feel the flexing of your inner thighs. Degasana. Breathe in here. Then switch sides, passing through a wide-legged squat to bend your right knee and curl your left toes up. Breathe in here. Then rotate your left leg inward, coming into a lunge, facing the front of your mat. Set your hands on the floor and step into plank. Lower through chaturanga or come down to hands and knees and take a cat-cow instead of a vinyasa. Your choice, meeting yourself right where you are. Let's come back to downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in. Perhaps let out a sound as you exhale. Side two. Inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, bend your left knee towards your nose, round forward and softly place your left foot just inside of your left hand, staying high on the ball of your right foot. Inhale, rise into Crescent Lunge. So as we bring more focus into our alignment for a moment, you might like to bend your right knee, help draw your tailbone down, and lift your frontal hip bones. Send your right hip bone forward to meet the left. And bend your front knee right on top of the ankle, firming the front muscle of the thigh. Feel the muscle hug the bone. From your pelvic floor to your crown, lengthen your spine as you raise your arms and soften your shoulders down. Let's take a couple more breaths. Crescent Pose. Join your hands together at your heart and spin your right heel to the earth. Align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot, rolling your left outer hip slightly under your body. Open your arms wide, entering Warrior Two. Notice how the center of your left knee aligns with your center left toe, pointing straight ahead. As your right leg slightly turns in, you're firming the top of your right thigh bone back towards the left edge of your mat. Long spine, steady gaze past your left hand. Let's take a couple more breaths. Maybe even bend your left knee 90 degrees. Degasana, turn out your right leg from the hip, bending your right knee in the same direction as the middle toe. Hands on hips or hands together in prayer, bend your right knee and flex your left toes up off the ground. This is hip strengthening. Pass through a wide-legged squat and switch. Bend your left knee, curl your right toes up. Rotate your right leg inward from the hip socket and plant your hands in a lunge. Stepping into plank, take your own vinyasa or cat-cow, resting whenever you need to. And when you arrive in downward facing dog, let's take a few cycles to rebalance our breaths. Then bend your knees, look ahead of where you want to land your feet. On emptied breath, walk or float to the top of your mat. Breathe in to lengthen forward. Breathe out to fold in. Inhale, rise, palms meet at the top. Exhale the arms down in mountain pose. Let's take it through a continuous flow with the breath. Meditation through movement. Inhale, sweep your arms high, a gentle back bend as you lift your chest. Exhale, bow, perhaps with bent knees. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward, step to plank, or lightly jump into chaturanga. Insert your own vinyasa here. We'll meet in downward dog. From downward dog, inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, round forward to quietly step the foot inside of your right hand into a high lunge. Inhale, rise into Crescent Pose, joining your hands at your heart. Exhale, turn to your left, align heel to arch, open arms in Warrior Two. Inhale, turn out your left leg and bend the knee, sinking your pelvis in Degasana, flex your right toes up. Exhale, pass through center squat and bend your right knee, flex your left toes up. Turn to face the front of your mat in a high lunge and step into plank. Insert your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, round through plank. Lightly step the foot inside of your left hand in a high lunge. Inhale, rise to Crescent Pose. Join your hands at your heart and turn right. Exhale, heel to arch in Warrior Two. Turn out your right leg and bend the knee. Inhale, Degasana, flex your left toes up. Pass through a mid squat. And exhale, switch, bend your left knee, right toes up. Turn to face the front of your mat in a high lunge and lower through your vinyasa. 3 to 5 breaths in downward facing dog. So we're gonna end that flow here. And from downward facing dog, on your next inhale, Glide forward into your version of plank pose. Pause, few breaths, thinking of core stability where you hug all the sides of your torso towards your midline. Lengthen the spine, gaze forward on the ground, broaden your chest, shoulder blades onto your upper back. Then take your time with strength and stability, glide. Pass through Chaturanga Dandasana, elbows hugging in, maybe pause there before lowering all the way down to Sphinx again. Slide your elbows, your shoulders in Sphinx, then scoot your ankles as close together as you can. Then cross your left forearm in front of your chest and bend your right knee. As you backstroke your right arm, feel the opening of the front of your right shoulder. Then catch hold of the big toe side, the inside of your right ankle or foot. If it's hard to reach, lasso the top of your foot with a strap and hold on to the strap instead. Then make sure that your knees are still no wider than your hips distance apart, as this helps to support your lower back. Firm down through both of your frontal hip bones. Then slowly bring your right heel just slightly outside of your right hip, lengthening your right quadricep and perhaps feeling an opening in your hip flexor. Feel the support of your left forearm on the ground in front of you so that your chest can completely face forward and your shoulders. Notice if there's any tensing in the face. You might even need to flutter your lips if the jaw is starting to grip. A few last breaths. And gently release straight. Come back to Sphinx just for a couple of breaths. Scooting your ankles as close together as you can. Here, cross your right forearm in front of your chest. Bend your left knee and backstroke your left arm to open the inner shoulder, catching hold of the big toe side, not the pinky toe side, of your left ankle or foot. Have your knees no wider apart than your hips distance. Firm downward through both of your frontal hip bones. Bring your left heel slightly to the outside of your left hip, while softening your two shoulder blades down your back. Turn your chest to face forward. Calming deep breaths through your nose. And with an exhale, release your left leg straight. Let's press up to sit with our legs in front. So grab your strap here, and you may even want to grab a pillow or a block or folded blanket to sit on if you're feeling any tightness in your hips or lower back. Extend your left leg forward, and we're going to set up for cow face pose, crossing the right thigh as much as you can over the left so that your knees stack down your midline. And if here you're already finding it challenging to stabilize your hips, stay right here, don't add any more. Otherwise, bend your left knee too and splay your feet wide apart. Now, holding the strap in your left hand, dangle the strap behind you and rotate your left outer upper arm forward, bending your elbow behind your head so that your left hand lands between your shoulder blades. And if you don't have a strap, grab hold of your shirt there instead. Reach your right hand underneath, grab the other end of your strap or your shirt, then walk your hands as close together as you can. You might even clasp your fingers and let go of the strap. As you root down firmly through your left and right sitting bones, rebound a lift up from your pelvic floor through each vertebra of your spine, honoring an open space at your throat as you lift through the crown of your head. Then take a deep inhale and broaden your chest. Tilt your sternum towards the sky. As you exhale, lead with the center of your chest and begin to bow, breath by breath. Keep going. We'll be here for a few more breaths in cow face pose. Now firm in your belly towards your back. Lead with your chest again and inhale to slowly rise. Release your arms, release your legs, any movements. And then let's take the left thigh, cross it over the right. Notice if on this side you'll need to keep your right leg straight underneath, or you could bend it and splay both feet wider apart. Then hold the strap from your right hand behind you. Wrap your right tricep forward and bend your elbow behind your head. Land your right palm just between your shoulder blades, or you could grab your shirt if you don't have a strap. Reach your left hand underneath, grab the other end of your strap or your shirt, and then walk your hands as close together as you can. Maybe they clasp. Firm down through both of your sitting bones. Lift up from your pelvic floor through your crown. Feel the open space at your throat and inhale, broaden your chest. Lift it up, slide your shoulders down. Exhale, lead with your chest and begin to bow breath by breath. On your next inhalation, lead with your chest to slowly rise up. Take your block, hug the skinniest width right between your thighs, and we're gonna start in bridge pose, progressing through back bends. So have your feet parallel, as wide apart as your hips, ground the four corners of each foot, extend your arms forward with your palms face up, relax, and lengthen your spine, belly in. Slowly lower your back and your skull onto the ground. Gradually lowering. As we awaken many muscles that help to stabilize our spine before we back bend any further. Once you're lying down, locate your feet by placing your arms down by your sides and sliding your feet back just to the point where you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips, but not quite. As you ground your shoulders and the four corners of your feet parallel, hug the block between your thighs, and inhale, lift your pelvis while actively stretching the fronts of your thighs forward. Keep breathing deeply as you walk your upper arms closer together beneath your back ribs. Keep your arms straight, so not flaring the elbows apart. If your hands touch, consider interlacing your fingers. Press into the ground also with the outsides of your upper arms. As you broaden and lift your chest, fully expanding your lungs, tilt your chin slightly back, opening your throat. Now feel the activity of your legs. You're engaging your hamstrings by keeping your feet still, but energetically acting as if you're dragging your heels back towards your glutes. Contrast that with lengthening your tailbone forward towards the space between your knees. You might feel more of an opening in your hip flexors. Now take just another 3 to 5 deep breaths before you choose to lower slowly on an exhalation. Lowering your upper back first, then each vertebra of your spine, tailbone last. Now, once you've lowered, just keep your feet on the ground. Don't hug your knees in. Just rest for a few breaths. Now, if that's the intensity, the highest intensity you want to go in your back bends, then take bridge pose again on your own for another 5 to 10 breaths. Otherwise, we're going to move into camel pose. You'll have to come up to stand on your knees for camel pose. Using the block again, hug the skinniest width between your thighs. We'll start with the toes tucked behind so the heels are as high as they can be and stable. As you hug the block, knees are directly above your hips. Bring your hands to your lower back with your fingertips face down and lengthen your tailbone actively towards the ground between your knees. Keeping your pelvis directly above your shoulders, begin to inhale and lift your back ribs and chest. Roll your shoulders behind you and slide them down as you coil your chest up. Now taking about 5 to 10 breaths before you use your hands on your lower back to roll your spine upright again. You could see if one heel is reachable with one hand, and then you could switch hands or both hands on heels, making sure that your pelvis remains above your knees and you're arching your back mostly just beneath your shoulder blades, where the bra strap would be, ladies. And then letting your shoulders release down. Imagine you're holding an apple between your chin and chest so as not to completely collapse your head back. Opening the heart space, expanding your lungs. If you are taking Camel Pose and are ready to come out with the help of your hands on your lower back, slowly rolling your spine upright, just come to a seated position to rest for a few breaths. You might use the block as a stool to sit on between your ankles as you point your toes back. We've got one last heart opening back bend. Now you could choose bridge, you could choose camel, or you could tone it down and come into restorative bridge. The latter is what I'll walk you through if you're going to do that. Come on down to your back again for restorative bridge. Locate your feet again with arms down by your sides where you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips. Parallel your feet hips distance apart. Then take the block in your hand and lift your pelvis, placing the block across your mat to land just beneath the flat part of your lower back, your sacrum. Now you can decide, how does this height feel? If you want to go a little higher, you can tilt the block onto the second level, maybe even up to the third level. Arms close to your sides, palms face up. Roll your shoulders back and down and tilt your chin slightly away from your chest, opening your throat. Parallel your feet as you spread your weight to the 4 corners of each, and actively lengthen your tailbone towards your inner knees as you spiral your inner thighs slightly towards the ground. Full breaths, expanding your heart space and your lungs. Now, whether you practiced bridge, camel, or restorative bridge, I invite you to meet us in restorative bridge for a supported version of shoulder stand, placing a block under your sacrum at whatever height feels stable for you to be able to lift your legs straight up. And as your pelvis is elevated higher than your heart, you're encouraging your circulation as well as stimulating your digestion. So in this cooling inversion, let's take about 10 slow exhalations where you might even count to 5 as you breathe in, to 7 as you breathe out. When you're ready, step your feet lightly onto the ground, lifting your hips. Slowly remove the block. Gently lower your spine and pelvis. And then from here, bend your right knee into your chest again. Slide your left leg forward onto the floor. Scoot your pelvis slightly closer to the right edge of your mat and open your right arm wide, flat on the ground, beginning to twist to your left side by crossing your right leg over your body while looking over your right shoulder, keeping it on the ground. As we remain in the twist, just a few more breaths. Think about tilting your right outer hip forward slightly. That's away from your torso and towards your left foot, tractioning your lower spine. On your next exhalation, unwind gently back to center, releasing your right leg straight as you bend your left knee into your chest. Then slide your pelvis a little bit closer to the left side of your mat and open your left arm wide on the floor, looking over your left shoulder as you twist to your right side. Cross your left leg over your body. And as you keep your left shoulder on the ground, bring your attention to your left outer hip and softly tilt it forward away from your torso and towards your right foot. On your next exhalation, roll onto your back and hug your knees into your chest, or perhaps take a happy baby pose. 3 deep exhalations to your mouth here before we land to rest in Shavasana. Inhale, fill up your belly. Make any releasing sound, open your mouth, ha. Maybe even stick out your tongue. Last time on your own. Then lower your entire body to rest in a position that's comfortable for it, to just be still and completely relax as you close your eyes and relax control of your breath. if you're going to join me for sitting 5 minutes silently in meditation, please begin to move your body gently, easing into simple stretches, perhaps while keeping your eyes still closed, nurturing your focus inward. Eventually, lift your body upright to sit, perhaps on a pillow. Find a way to sit so that your knees can drop easily open if you are sitting cross-legged. You could even sit on a chair if that's more comfortable for you. Let your physical posture promote a sense of calm in your mind. I'm going to start the timer now for 5 minutes. Feel back into your breathing. And let's bring the hands together at the heart, bowing in to close. As we move into the rest of our days, an inquiry you might filter in is, how can I be kinder to myself today while honoring my truth? Let's close the practice with one Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.